It's great to be with you all and to share with you a little more about a story from the Bible. It's a story about a young boy who defeats a huge giant. It's a story of God rescuing his people, and it's a fantastic story. I love it. It's called David and Goliath, and it's quite a well-known story. Maybe you've heard of it before. I wonder if we could remind ourselves of the story together. So I'm going to retell the story, and as I tell it, I'd like you to join in with some actions. The story has two armies in it. So when I say Israelites, I want you to point this way, Israelites. And when I say Philistines, I want you to point this way, Philistines. When I say Goliath, you have to stretch your hand up really tall because Goliath was a very, very big man. And when I say David, you're going to put your hand down low because David was just small. Okay, ready? Here we go. This is a story about a battle between two armies. One army was camped on one hill. They were called the Israelites. And one army was camped on the other hill. They were called the Philistines. The Israelites were people who loved God and followed God. The Philistines were their enemies. They were scary people. They were fierce in battle, and the Israelites were scared of them. They were especially scared because every day the Philistines would send out their fiercest soldier to face them. He was huge, and his name was Goliath. Goliath mocked and taunted the Israelites. He dared them to send someone to fight him. "Come and get me," he would shout. The Israelites knew that it would be really tricky to win against Goliath. They didn't have anyone to send that would match up to Goliath's strength or height or power. So day after day, in fact for 40 days, Goliath would come and stand and challenge the Israelites to a fight. And nothing happened. It's just a bit of a stalemate. Until that is, one day David, a shepherd boy who had come to the battlefield with food for his brothers, heard Goliath's taunt. He was really annoyed at Goliath making fun of the Israelites and of the Israelites' God. So he said, "I'll fight Goliath. Oops. God helps me to fight bears and lions when they attack my sheep. He'll help me to fight Goliath too." The king dressed David in his own armour to protect him. But David said, "I can't move in this stuff." And so he took it all off. And instead, he went to the river and he chose 5 smooth stones. David approached Goliath. "God is with me," he said. "He will defeat you." David took a sling from his belt and carefully put just one of the stones into the sling. He burrowed it around and around, and boom, it hit Goliath right in the middle of his forehead. Goliath fell down dead, and the Israelites were delighted. The Israelites chased the Philistines, and the Philistines ran away. Okay, let's look a bit more closely at some of the characters in the story. I have some of them here. I wonder if you're able to guess who is who. This is an army. I wonder if you can guess which army it is. They don't look very confident, do they? In fact, this wee guy here, he's got a suitcase. I think he's packed ready to go home. They're a bit scared. Somebody's slurking at the back too with a skateboard thinking, "I'll get out of here really quickly." Who do you think it is? It's the Israelite army, isn't it? They were in a tough situation, weren't they? Maybe it even seemed like an impossible situation. They didn't have anyone to fight Goliath and they felt trapped There was no way out. But God rescued them. There's another army here. They look fierce and they're all ready for battle with their weapons. Can you guess who they are? They're the Philistine army. They're trained for battle and their army was bigger than the Israelites. And of course, it seemed like they had the trump card, didn't they? Who do you think this is? Goliath, isn't it? You could do your Goliath action because Goliath was really big. He was enormous. The Bible even tells us that he had a bronze helmet, scaled armour, a huge spear. You see his huge spear? Ooh, huge spear with heavy, sharp bronze spearhead in the end of it. He was a trained soldier, and it seemed like he was unbeatable, or so the Philistines thought. But God was able to rescue the Israelites from Goliath and all the Philistines. How did he do that? Well, he sent someone. So who do you think this is? He's got no armour, and I think he must be a shepherd boy because he seems to have a sheep with him. Actually, that's a mistake, too big. And anyway, the sheep were left at home when this person came to bring food for his brothers. Do you remember who he is? Do you guess? It's David. He's a little bit smaller than Goliath, isn't he? And we can see it. Yeah, just a wee lad. David was young, maybe just a teenager. We don't know exactly. He'd never been in battle before. He didn't have armour or a spear, but he did trust in God. And Christians believe that God used him to rescue the whole Israelite army from the Philistines. How did he do that? Well, with a little sling and a stone. I wonder if you could wave an imaginary sling around your head. Fire it, boom! The stone hit Goliath right in the middle of the forehead, and he fell down dead. So did you remember all the characters in the story? Fantastic. What a great job you have all done. You know, David grew up to be a great king of Israel, and he wrote lots of poems and songs, and we still read and sing these today. One of them says, I will be with them in trouble. I will rescue them and honour them, says the Lord. And that comes from Psalm 91, verse 15. I will rescue them, says the Lord. And in this story, God rescued the Israelites by sending David to defeat Goliath. And Christians believe that God is a God who rescues people. How good is that? It's good, isn't it? Okay, just before we go, I need you to get up onto your feet and we are going to fast forward through our story. Same actions as before, Israelites, Philistines, Goliath, David, but really fast. Are you ready? Sure? Okay, let's go. There were two armies camped opposite one another, the Israelites and the Philistines. The Philistines had a huge giant called Goliath. He roared at the Israelites, come and get me. The Israelites were scared. David went to take food for his brothers. He heard Goliath shouting and he said, I'll fight Goliath. David picked up 5 smooth stones from the river for his slingshot. Goliath laughed, but David said, God is with me and he will defeat you. David flung a stone. It hit Goliath on the head and he fell down dead. The Israelites cheered and the Philistines ran away. Whew. My goodness, did you manage to keep up with me? Great job. Well done. I'm sure you know the story really well now. Well, I have one wee challenge to leave with you. We like to finish with a challenge, don't we? The Bible tells us that Goliath was nearly 3 meters tall. That's big. But how big? Maybe you could go outside as a class and estimate just how big Goliath was. Then measure and see how good your estimate was. Draw Goliath with chalk on your playground, or if you've got a wooded area, maybe you could lay out sticks and make Goliath with natural materials. How tall was David? Bible doesn't tell us, but you could guess or estimate he was just a young lad, maybe not a lot bigger than you. Draw David beside Goliath, or make David with sticks and other natural objects beside your Goliath. Then stand back and look at your David and Goliath. And remember, Christians believe that God sent David to rescue the Israelites from Goliath. Christians believe God is a God who rescues people. Have fun